Namaste and Hari Om. A warm welcome to one and all for the Quaskui Centennial, that is the 125th anniversary celebrations of Ramakrishna Mission. Today is the 1st of May, also celebrated as the International Workers' Day or Labor Day. To labor for the benefit of humanity, Swami Vivekananda founded the Ramakrishna Mission in Kolkata in 1897. Ramakrishna Mission has been engaged in serving humankind without the distinction of caste, creed, color, race, nationality, gender, or any other distinctions. The twin organizations, Ramakrishna Mutt and Ramakrishna Mission, are international organizations with 142 branch centers in India and 47 branches outside India. With that note, we shall commence today's celebrations by a prayer song. Life is a journey, that is Yatra. Her sweet voice and harmonium together constitute an orchestra, cordially calling upon Sangamitra. That was a beautiful start, Sanghamitra. Such a soul-stirring rendition. Thank you so much for a great start. And so with that great start, welcoming Paul Hipwell, the principal trustee of Vivekananda Society, to kindly render his welcome speech. Situated are we opposite Ladies' Well. It's now time to call upon Paul Hipwell.
Swami Vivekananda ji, Swami Purnananda, who I think is tuning in, and Swami Sarvashtananda ji. Friends, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you're all extremely welcome to today's celebration. And as we've heard, today is the auspicious day of the founding of Ramakrishna mission by Swami Vivekananda in 1897. And as such, today is the 125th anniversary of the founding day. And to quote from your message this morning, Swami, today is well, it started in a small house in Calcutta, the ideal of one's own freedom and for the good of the world. And to borrow a phrase, it has grown into a huge banyan tree with over 250 branch centers in 24 countries. And the organization's principles, including that all religions are true, is an enduring message and ever more relevant today. And this centre's role is important in this and in the growth of Dublin and Ireland as a multicultural society. So we have a full program today. So with that, I'll hand back and we'll, I'm never good with the pronunciation. I was going to brave it and then I said I'd make a message. So I'll let you see. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Paul. Kind words and for starting this event. A man's highest goal is Sachit Ananda. With great happiness, I now invite Swami Shantivratananda. Requesting Swami Shantivratananda ji, Minister in charge of Vivekananda Society, to kindly render his introduction.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Ramakrishna Sharanam. My reverential pranams to Revered Swami Sarvastanji Maharaj, Minister in charge, Ramakrishna Vedanta Center, London, and his absentia. Also my reverential pranams to Swami Purnanji Maharaj, who is in France now, and all my love and best wishes to all the devotees who are present in Vedanta Society and also in the Zoom. Today, it is a unique day. Of course, we are all the part of that historical event, that is 125th Foundation Day of Ramakrishna Mission, and started by none other than the Vedantic lion, the Swami Vivekananda. But if you know, who have studied Sri Ramakrishna's life, the genesis of Ramakrishna Mutt and Mission, and by Swami Gambhirananji, and other books, we all feel that the organization is in the name of the new incarnation of this age, that is Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. He himself started this Ramakrishna Mutt or Ramakrishna Mission during his lifetime. Because, or since he accepted the sins of many devotees, he had to suffer from the throat cancer. To take care of his medical needs, the devotees had requested Sri Ramakrishna to move from Dakshineshwar to the proper Calcutta. In the Calcutta, in the Kashipur house, there was a farmhouse like a house, independent house, where Sri Ramakrishna was housed and they were looked after. He was looked after. One fine day, one of the apostles of Sri Ramakrishna, Swami Advaitanandaji, His pre-monastic name is Gopalda. Since he was senior in age even than Sri Ramakrishna, so he was addressed as Bado Gopalda. Once he came to Sri Ramakrishna with a request saying that, I would like to present Akar robes and also Rudrakshima to some more mankins. Probably he wanted to go to the northern part of India, maybe for Kashi, Banaras or Haridwar, to distribute the Akar robes and Rudrakshimalas. Sri Ramakrishna said, my dear, here are my young children who are pure in their heart, who have got burning renunciation in their mind and heart. Why don't you distribute the Akar robes and Rudrakshimala for them? Definitely, your desire will be fulfilled. Bado Gopalda, the future Swami Advaita Anji, accepted Sri Ramakrishna's say, and he gave the Akar robes and also Rudrakshimala to Sri Ramakrishna himself, and he said, please, you distribute on my behalf. On that day, around 12 people, Sri Ramakrishna gave Akar robes and Rudrakshimalas. And all of them, they wore Akar robes and Rudrakshimala. And Sri Ramakrishna instructed them to go out and for begging, because a sannyasi, a monk in India, he has to beg and he has to take care of his life. That was the old practice. So all of them, they went to the nearby houses and they did begging, and whatever was received, they brought. And Sri Ramakrishna did take part of that food, and afterwards everyone took. And that's the reason, even today, when we monks, after our sannyas, in 3 days, as a practice, in the Belur Mutt, we don't get any food from the Belur Mutt. We are not allowed to enter the kitchen at all. The 3 days, we are supposed to go by nearby villages and we beg the food. And whatever we beg, either in 1 or 3 houses, and whatever we bring among them, a small portion is given to Sri Ramakrishna initially, and small portion is given to our Guru. Then afterwards, after prayers and bhajans, we partake. The same tradition is maintained even now, because it is considered as one of the holiest food, whatever we beg and take the food. So then itself, Sri Ramakrishna laid the foundation for the Ramakrishna Mutt and for the Ramakrishna mission. After the passing away of Sri Ramakrishna, the householder disciples who were supporting the Sri Ramakrishna stay and Sri Ramakrishna and the food and other things, they all said, now Sri Ramakrishna is no more, fine. Now all you young chaps, you go back to your houses and take care of your household, and further you continue your life, enough is enough. But Sri Ramakrishna told very clearly for Naren and other young chaps that you have to renounce and you have to take care of take the renunciate life. But how much ever they said, most of the householders, devotees, they didn't understand this and they were not ready, except 1 or 2. Without any other go, all of the youngsters, then they had to return back to their house after the demise of Sri Ramakrishna. One fine day, a devotee by name Surendranath Mitra, he was meditating. After his evening work, he came back to house, he washed his face, and he was sitting in his home shrine and he was meditating. And Sri Ramakrishna came in and he said, my dear, you are meditating and my children are there either without proper arrangements for food and without arrangements for their stay. What are you doing? Why don't you help them? Immediately, Surendranath Mitra got up and he ran to Naren's house. Look, Sri Ramakrishna has asked me to help you. From now onwards, every month, I shall give you 60 rupees. From that, you have to take care. Swami Vivekananda, Naren was very happy, because since there was no income at all apart from Surendra's help, they wanted to take a house. They wanted to hire a house with a low income. And after much inquiry, they got one old dilapidated house. And it was known for haunted. If you go in nights, generally the spirits may come, the ghosts may come, and they will trouble you. And Naren said, we are monks. We are also definitely ghosts only. Because once we take sannyasa, before taking sannyasa, we do Atma Shabdha. So we are also ghosts. So they are our friends. We shall live together with them, never mind. And for 11 rupees, they took a haunted house, a dilapidated house for hiring. And among that whole building, only 2 or 3 rooms were in a fit condition to live. So one room was converted into the shrine, the other in the room they were sleeping, and one more room they had made their study room and library also, of course. And the house was in Baranagar. There's an extension which is in Calcutta. So Baranagar Mutt was the first mutt of Ramakrishna Mutt and Ramakrishna Mission. And the lifestyle or the routine of the young monks was wonderful. At 3 a.m. they used to get up and they used to go for Ganges and have a cold water bath, either in summer or winter or rainy season. And they come and all of them, they used to assemble in the shrine. They used to have morning Mangalarati from Swami Ramakrishna, that is Shashi Maharaj. Then they used to sit for meditation. It is not like our meditation. We all sit for meditation, most of us, we devotees. Maybe for half an hour, 45 minutes, maybe some devotees who are really serious in spiritual life, 1 or 2 hours. But these people, they used to sit from dawn to dusk. That is, early morning, 3 a.m. they used to sit, and only after pursual, 3 p.m. they used to get up, that's all. 3 a.m. they used to sit for meditation, and 3 p.m. more or less at the time, Shashi Maharaj, that is Ramakrishna, used to go and pull everyone, come on, get up, enough of your meditation, come and have some food. Most of the time, they used to boil the rice, and even many times they never had money even to purchase the salt. Some greens were grown in front of the old dilapidated house. The same thing was boiled, and rice, a plain rice with the greens they used to eat, and hardly sometimes they used to have a salt and sweets and all. It is, of course, it was just a dream. So this was their lifestyle. And they had only one set of clothes, and it used to be hanged on the wall. Whoever used to go out from the monastery for the city for any purpose, to meet some people or to bring some donation for whatever, they used to use that dress. Only one pair was there. Otherwise, either most of them had a lion cloth, mats for sleeping. But still, because of Tantra and because of Buddhism, in the Bengal, there was no monasticism at all. So for the Bengal culture, it was very new. Many people made a joke of them. They taunted them. They mocked them. You youngsters, you are becoming lazy. Many of them were graduates at the time. They were all quite capable and quite intelligent too. But still, since they took the life of monk, many were taunted, mocked, and sometimes they were also handled very badly. But accepting all these things, they were very steadfast in their spiritual practices, in their principles, and in the teachings of their master, the Sri Ramakrishna. And once in a while, they used to go for different pilgrimages as a part of tapasya, penance, and slowly, here and there, some few monastic disciples, opposites of Sri Ramakrishna, they started some branch centers. And Swami Vivekananda also left as an itinerant monk. He traveled all over the world, all over the India, and he came to West and Chicago's Parliament of Religions. We know all of that. When Swami Vivekananda, when he traveled in the West, he understood that we have to learn from the Westerners 2 things. One is their science, and the second is their organization skills. In India, we had a wonderful culture, no doubt, but because of lack of organization, we are lagging in the country. As a result, we have to learn this organization skill, and we need an organization to protect and also to spread the message of Vedanta and message of our master, Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. So after coming from West, by the time from Baranagar, the monastery had shifted to Alambazar monastery. Again, Alambazar is a place where in a better house, they had housed monastery. When Swami Vivekananda said that we should have an organization in the name of our master, many of the direct disciples or many of the brother disciples, they never accepted it. Oh, Naren, since you had been to West, you have learned or you have copied all these things from them. So we don't have this. Sri Ramakrishna said for us that God relation is the goal of our life. We should try for that. What is this organization? Why do we need all these things? So Swami Vivekananda initially, he had a lot of struggles to make their brother disciples to make understand, and how Sri Ramakrishna had told all these things in privately, etc. As a result, in 1897, on May 1st, in one of his Sri Ramakrishna's devotee's house, that is Balram Bose, in his house, in the first floor, in the big hall, there was a meeting where Swami Vivekananda, Swami Brahmanandji, all the monastic disciples of Sri Ramakrishna mostly, and the householder disciples, all of them, they assembled and they had a meeting, and Swami Vivekananda expressed his views. Why do we need organization? Why? Because first and foremost, to protect the teachings of Sri Ramakrishna without any dilution. That is the one thing. And second thing, we have to spread the Vedanta. We have to spread the Sanatana Dharma. We have to spread the message of our master, which is a savior for humankind. For this, we need organization. Second. And also he said that, see, individually, we may be great. We can do a lot of work, no doubt. But if it has to be continued, then we need an organization. Hence, we shall start the organization in the name of our master, that is Ramakrishna. That's how Ramakrishna mission started on 1897 on May 1st. One of his disciple, Swami Kalyananandji, Swami Vivekananda said that you forget Bengal and you take care of the mendicants who are in the northern part of India, that is near Himalayas, like Haridwar, Rishikesh. Then there was no facilities for monks who used to go and stay there. Most of the time, the food was very less they used to get, and more than that, medical care was not at all. So many monks used to die there. So Swami Vivekananda himself, during his Parivrajaka days, during his itinerant monk, when he had traveled across the northern India, he had understood. So he sent Kalyananandji, giving some money, and he said, forget Bengal and you go and serve the people there. And he was not doctor by profession. Whatever he learned some medicines, he used to go by walking at foot on the different interior places of Himalayas, and used to look after any monk is not well, he used to give medicine. Sometimes if he's not, his condition is very much deterioration, he used to take him on his shoulder and used to bring to his one kutia, and their food, whatever possible food and other things were taken. So when we started again, one more monk also joined him, Nishchayanandji. When we were cleaning the excrete of the patients, when we used to feed them, when we used to dress their wounds and all, we were called as Bangi Sadhus. Bangi Sadhus means scavenger sadhus. Why? We are doing all the work of like scavengers in India. At that time, in India, monks means they should spend their life for meditation. They should spend their time in the scriptural study, and at the most in giving the scriptural discourses. They're not meant for any work. That was the idea, especially in India. So when our Ramakrishna mission monks, when they started all these things, we were called scavenger sadhus, and we were not allowed in the mainstream of any sadhu community. One of the great Mahamandaleshwar, just like we say Pope in the church community, like that there are different denominations even among Hindu community. One Pope of the particular community, he asked, there was a get together, like monks get together. Many monks from different sampradaya, different denominations had come there. And he asked, I hear that recently some monks have come from Ramakrishna ashram and they're doing a lot of work. Why they have not seen here? The other sadhus said in a very negligent way, oh, they are scavenger sadhus. They are not allowed to come inside our sadhu community. So we are not welcoming. We have never given invitation and we don't want them also. Then that person said, what? You people are studying Advaita. You people are preaching Advaita Vedanta by just mere discourse, and the non-dualistic philosophy into the practice. Why? Whatever is there in this world or creation, it is small or big, starting from Atom to Hiranyagarbha. That is what we say. worship, Shiva Puja, and that is the real worship. And they are really the ambassadors of Advaita Vedanta, and not you people or me. Then the whole sadhu community, they understood the importance of this service. Whatever real worship, Swami Vivekananda has given a wonderful lecture in Rameshwaram. Work is worship, we all speak today. And today, even from India and from Sanatana Dharma point of view, many things have changed today. And today, when we hear such type of incidents, we may not feel very important in that. But 120, 130 years before, all these things were alien to the Indian community, and even Hindu community. So many of our monks had to receive a lot of devotees, or even from the normal public. But based on the teachings of Sri Ramakrishna and Swami Vivekananda, either Swami Vivekananda, other disciples, and our monks, they keep on continuing. And slowly, some of the devotees, they started understanding about this importance, about the significance of our mission and ideas and ideals. And slowly, they started contributing. They started involving in themselves in all the activities. And slowly, a small river, Ramakrishna Ganga, started in as a stream. Now it has spread across the 24 countries, having the 250 branches, affiliated branches. And inspired by Ramakrishna Vivekananda ideas and ideals, thousands of start and are work of the upliftment of society in India and as well as across the globe. And what is the it is taken from the Atmano Mokshartam for liberation and for the betterment of the society or for the welfare of the society. That is the ideal of the Ramakrishna mission. And how it has to be practiced, how it can be materialized, Swami Vivekananda has given 4 yogas. One is Jnana Yoga, that is part of self-knowledge, the yoga, the action, then Raja Yoga, Bhushana. Love. To allow this, we can express this divinity. To express the divinity, and as well as we have to take care of the human. Oh, I am a monk, I am getting away, I don't want to, or that is not proper, according to Swami Vivekananda or Advaita Vedanta. So all these ideas and ideals were new 125 years before, and today the world. And also apart from that, harmony of religions, harmony of yogas, harmony of sects, and different harmonies has been given, harmony between sacred and secular, all these things beautifully explained and also as well as practiced by either by Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa or Swami Vivekananda or even the followers of Ramakrishna Mission. Such a wonderful organization is this Ramakrishna Mission. Today we are becoming it is a in the name started by Swami Vivekananda. Dear devotees, thank you for coming here. We have got a lot of devotees here, and also I think there's a place problem also. I request devotees to adjust for some time. And my reverential pranams to Swami Sarvastanji. Thank you.
We now cordially invite Swami Sarvastananda, Minister in charge of Ramakrishna Vedanta Center, UK, to kindly render his talk on Ramakrishna Mission's contribution to the West. Swami Sarvastananda joined the Ramakrishna at Belud Mutt in February 1987 department. For more than 30 years, he was the editor of the Gujarati monthly, Sri Ramakrishna Jyoti, for nearly 17 years. He represented Ramakrishna Mission in an UNESCO conference on youth and their social impact held in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia in May 2017. Since June 2017, he's been appointed as one of the 3 official monastic representatives of Ramakrishna Mission to the UNESCO events whenever they are held from time to time. We now welcome revered Swamiji to kindly render his talk. Pranam Swamiji, namaste.
Namaste. Om Jananim Saradam Devim Ramakrishnam Jagadgurum Padapadme Tayo Shritva Pranamami Muhurmuhu Namashri Yatirajaya Vivekananda Suraye Satchit Sukha Swarupaya Swami Tapaharine. Welcome to all of you. It's a very, very auspicious day today. We are celebrating the 125th anniversary of the foundation of Ramakrishna Mission, which took place exactly 125 years ago on 1st May 1897 in a small, in a house in Kolkata, which is now known as Balram Mandir, and it is a center of the Ramakrishna Mission now. That was a very auspicious day when Sri Ramakrishna's disciples, both monastic as well as householders, decided to start an organization in his name. We know how Shantivratananda just now explained how they had to struggle, and even the monastic brothers and some of the householder disciples were not very appreciative of the idea of an organization which they thought was a Western idea. Now, since the West believes in the power of organization, and Swami Vivekananda also believed that the best ideals of both the East and the West, wherever there are noble ideas, that is what Indian scriptures believed. In fact, the Vedas say that let noble ideas come to me from all sides. It doesn't depend on geography, nationality, ethnicity, culture. Good ideas are good. Eternal good ideas can be accepted by everybody wherever they come from. So Ramakrishna Mission's contribution to the West, if we see, we'll just see what gave Swami Vivekananda this idea. What were the things he appreciated? What were the qualities that he appreciated in the Western civilization, Western people, which he decided to adapt to the eternal values of India, so that it can be propagated in a universal way all over the world. So the Ramakrishna Mission, after 125 years, we can take certain lessons from history. So 1st May 1897, as I said before, is the foundation day of the Ramakrishna Mission. And we all know Ramakrishna Mutt and Ramakrishna Mission, they are worldwide, non-political, non-sectarian, spiritual organization. This has to be kept in mind, because it is what distinguishes us from other secular organizations or other service organizations is that we are not just humanitarian organizations, though we have been engaging ourselves in various humanitarian social service activities, especially in the third world countries or countries, especially India, for the last 125 years. The founders of the Ramakrishna Mission, of course, Sri Ramakrishna himself inspired Swami Vivekananda and his monastic and householder disciples to start this association, as they called it, Ramakrishna Mission, on 1st May 1897. They were inspired by the ideals of renunciation and service. Both the monks and the lay devotees of the Mutt and Mission serve millions of men, women and children all over the world without any distinction of caste, religion or race, because of a central principle which guides all of us, that is to see the living God in human beings, to see the God in men, God in human beings. That is the core idea. So many of our centers of the West are also centers of Ramakrishna Mutt, which is a twin organization. Although Ramakrishna Mutt was founded a little later, officially it was registered later, they are legally and financially separate, but They are closely interrelated in several ways and are often regarded as twin organizations. So you can't distinguish between Ramakrishna Mission and Ramakrishna Mutt. The dividing line is rather thin. So these twin organizations, both Ramakrishna Mutt and Ramakrishna Mission, have set in motion a non-sectarian, universal spiritual movement which has been silently working for more than 125 years now, exactly 125 years. And the purpose is to catalyze the spiritual regeneration of humanity. So the story of the Ramakrishna Mission, 125 years of its history, we cannot take it as mere history, because when we talk of the history of an organization, we deal with the external events, the outer happenings of men and institutions. How much relief work you've done, how much humanitarian, how much money have you spent, how much charity you have done. These are all external stories. These are histories based on external events. But the story of the Ramakrishna Mission, 125 years, deals with the inner dynamics of the movement. There is a unfolding of a truth, a spiritual truth, a power, a spiritual power through men and institutions. We are just instruments. It is the spiritual power generated by Sri Ramakrishna that is unfolding itself. And that is what we see the result of 125 years of service all over the world. In fact, all over the world, in the sense in every continent we have a presence. That is why at 3:30 we begin a 3-day webinar. I've sent the links to all of you, where one Swami or one speaker from each continent, from the North America, from South America, from Africa, from Australia, from the Southeast Asia, Asia and Europe, all of them will be presenting the story, not the history, the story of the Ramakrishna Mission as it unfolded over the last 125 years ago. Because the history deals with the outer happenings, and the story of the Ramakrishna Mission, if we can define it that way, it is an unfolding of a truth, a power through men and institutions. It is a power that is unfolding, and the men and institutions are secondary. That's why we do not give importance to any of our individual personalities, however great they may be. It is the power that is more important. It is the spiritual core that is more important, not the people. We are just instruments. However great our achievements may be, we do not care. Now, Sri Ramakrishna, after whom the organization is named, came with a message. He came with a message. He came with a set of ideas suited to the needs of the present age. Not that those ideas were new. These ideas were eternal. Just as the previous prophets came, Buddha came, Jesus came, and so many other great Rama, Krishna, and so many incarnations came, great people, prophets came. They came with the same eternal ideas, but with a new set of ideas to suit the needs of the present age. So in the present context, it is important to understand the relevance of Sri Ramakrishna in the Sri Ramakrishna movement. He trained a group of young disciples, the chief of whom was Swami Vivekananda, who with all his disciples, and they laid the foundation of a new monastic order, which later on came to be known as Ramakrishna Mutt or Ramakrishna Mission. We all know that in a hydroelectric plant, for example, water is stored, and that potential energy slowly is used to generate power, and electricity and many other functions are achieved through the dam, through that hydroelectric project. So also Sri Ramakrishna, obviously he was not very active externally. He didn't go out anywhere except for a few trips here and there in India. He confined himself to Dakshineshwar, and through his unprecedented sadhanas and prayers and spiritual disciplines, he transmitted it to his own disciples, the core disciples, the monastic disciples, who, with the help of the householder disciples, these disciples, they, through successive generations of these disciples, they have been spreading in ever widening circles, and that is known as the Ramakrishna movement. Now, we will talk of the Ramakrishna mission as it spread in the West. What is its contribution? So we all know Swami Vivekananda came to United States for the first time. A Hindu or a Vedantic preacher came on a world stage in such a big way. He came to the United States in Chicago in 1893 to represent the Vedic religion on Hinduism at the Parliament of Religions. After his success, and after he was one of the most important speakers in the Chicago Parliament, because he spoke of a universal religion which was new. Everybody was trying to preach his or her own religion and its importance in the global context. But he spoke of a universal religion, he spoke of universal harmony, a universal scientific based scientific religion which would serve as a basis for human growth and human development and human evolution. So on 30th December, he was passing through many countries, many states of United USA, and on 30th December 1894, that is exactly 1 year after the Parliament of Religions, he told he made a very significant statement in Brooklyn Ethical Society. He was invited by the Brooklyn Ethical Society. So he said, I have a message to the West as Buddha had a message to the East. What did he mean by that? What did he teach, or what were the ideas that he shared with the Western civilizations? Of course, he believed that there should be an exchange of ideas between the West and the East. So what did he actually contribute to the West? He obviously taught Vedanta philosophy, the universal philosophy and religion of the Upanishads, in the light of the life and message of his great master, Sri Ramakrishna. So the Western audiences who heard him saw something new in his message, beginning with the Parliament of Religions and later on in all other places. Swami Vivekananda spent nearly 4 years in America during his first visit. Then he came to Europe, spent about 1 year altogether in Europe, and he spoke in different countries. Almost every country in Europe he visited and spoke, especially England and UK. So Western audiences heard something new from this preacher from far off India, which was colonized by the British in those days. It was still under the British rule. So he gave a new message. He said sectarianism, bigotry, superstition, intolerance, they were all swept away by his statements, and to make room for the harmony of religions. So it was an overwhelming message which the Western people got of goodwill, of brotherly love. So thus he laid a foundation of cultural and a spiritual wave in the West, which you can say gradually changed the thought currents of the West towards a more universal and sane world order. When he was traveling through Europe, he made a prophecy. Very few people in 1901, when he was passing through Germany and other countries, Austria, in fact, when he was in Austria, Vienna and all the other countries of Europe, he said, I am smelling of war. And he predicted that there will be 2 great wars as early as in 1901. He says, unless this volcano of materialism is not controlled, if we don't take care, the volcano of materialism that is spreading all over the Western world will erupt and destroy this civilization. And you see, the prediction came true. It is within a few years, we see that 2 world wars took place. And finally, after the Second World War, organizations, international organizations like the United Nations, UNESCO, World Health Organization, to promote liberal and universal values were started to form an inclusive world order. So that was the result of Swami Vivekananda laying the foundation, not only in America, but also in Europe and other parts of the world, of a universal world order based on universal values of religion, the core values of every religion, whether it is Hinduism, Christianity, Islam, or any other religion. The core values are always universal. They always lead to peace and goodwill in the world. Now, Vivekananda defined what he meant by religion or spirituality. That is the word he used. Religion, he has defined in the following way. He says, you must bear in mind, these are his exact words. He says, you have to bear in mind that religion does not consist in talk, doctrines, books, or churches, temples, but in realization. It is realization of certain truths which we can apply in our day-to-day life and change, transform our personalities for our own good and for the good of the world. So it is not learning something, but it is being something, changing ourselves. So religion is the idea. This is his famous quotation. He says, religion is the idea which is raising the brute into man. That is what we have done. The animal nature in us we have slowly evolved from brutes to men, and then from man to God. Take religion out from human society, and what will remain? Nothing but a forest of brutes. And she says, sense happiness is not the goal of humanity. Wisdom is the goal of all life. We see from all the conflicts that we see around in the world in the name of religion, in the name of political ideology, and so many other factors. There's so much of violence in this world. So now he not only defined religion as a practical way, but he also said how to attain to that religion. He clearly explained. He says the supreme goal of life, according to Swami Vivekananda, is to manifest the divinity which is there in every human being, irrespective of his caste, creed, religion, ethnicity, everything. How does one do this? How does one realize, manifest that divinity which is hidden? So Vivekananda described 4 yogas which are very popular now. The Karma Yoga, the path of unselfish action. Bhakti, the path of devotion, which is there in most religious traditions. Jnana, the path of knowledge, especially in Vedanta and the Upanishads. And Raj Yoga, the path of meditation, calming down one's mind, which can lead to a peace, which can lead to peace in the world. These yogas help man to realize the divinity within and be united with God. Any concept of God, whichever concept of God you believe in, whether you believe in the Father in heaven, whether you believe God as Allah, or whether you believe him as Brahman or any other God, to realize, to be united with that God through these yogas is the goal of life. So Swami Vivekananda paved the way, as it were, for future generations so that they can move smoothly in their day-to-day life, satisfy all their little desires, and yet lead a noble life which will take them higher and higher in human evolution. So we all know modern science. In those days, in 1890s, the modern science and technology was already making the world a global village. So what Swami Vivekananda taught in America and Europe during his 2 visits to the West, he spent a total of 5 years spreading the message of Vedanta. 4 other direct disciples. I'll just give a brief idea what he did, how he contributed to the West. So there were 4, he spent altogether only 5 years. His life was very short. He had very little time. He passed away even before he turned 40. But he achieved so much, especially in the West in the 9 years. Out of that 5 years he spent in the West, and he brought with him 4 of his monastic brother disciples who contributed a lot. The 4 were Swami Sharadananda, Swami Abhedananda, Swami Turyananda, and Trigunatitananda. They came to the West for varying periods, and the first Vedanta Society of New York was established in 1894, even before the Ramakrishna mission. So we can trace the history of the Ramakrishna mission even before 1897. So it's more than 125 years ago, because in 1895, Swami Vivekananda had established a Vedanta Society in New York, even before that. And the next was San Francisco, the Vedanta Society of San Francisco in 1900. So these form part of the Ramakrishna mission even before the formal registration of the Ramakrishna mission was done on 1st May 1897. Of course, San Francisco came later. The Vedanta movement was continued by the next generation of monks of the Ramakrishna order, who established centers in various cities in United States. So he also visited Europe and United Kingdom and sowed the seeds of Ramakrishna movement there. Now, after 125 years, if you ask what is the contribution, there are Vedanta centers, as I said, in almost all the continents. I think, can you just switch off the audio? I think there's one audio which is on. Somebody has. Can you just switch off that audio? Yes, thank you. Some audio seems to be on. I would request all the listeners to please switch off their audios. Please switch off your audios, otherwise I'm getting a lot of... Yeah. So after 125 years, there are so many centers spread across all the continents: South America, North America, Australia. We have centers even in Russia, and also in all over Europe. We have several centers, including the one in Ireland, which is a great achievement. In 2017, the Ireland Center, which is the birthplace of Sister Nivedita, the birthplace of Sister Nivedita, who contributed so much towards Ramakrishna Mission's activities in India, especially in the field of education and girls' education. So normally our contribution in the Western centers, unlike that in the Indian centers, where there is lot of contribution, lot of humanitarian activity going on, but in the Western centers, the contribution is slightly different. So the Swamis in the West, the centers in Europe, America, and other continents, they normally spread the message, the universal message of Vedanta and the Ramakrishna movement, by conducting lectures, meditation, spiritual instructions, counseling, interfaith dialogue, and through websites, online classes, bookshops. So that is how the modus operandi, that is how Ramakrishna mission works in the West. Moreover, in most of the foreign languages, many books have been translated, like the Ramakrishna Vedanta, Ramakrishna Vivekananda literature, and all the Upanishads and the other scriptures, and also many books dealing with interfaith dialogues. They have been not only published in English, but have been translated into many languages, which includes German, French, Spanish, Portuguese, Dutch, Russian, Japanese, and many more languages. So these are the publications. That is one of the important activities of the Ramakrishna mission and the contribution of the Ramakrishna movement in the West. We may not have millions and millions of members, but most of the Western intellectuals, the academic circles, it has not yet become a popular movement as it has become in India. It has not become a mass movement in the West, but most of the academic circles are aware of the potential of this organization to bring world peace and an inclusive society. So we are accepted. We have centers in the most difficult regions of the world, every part of the world. If they ask us to start the mission centers, we don't mind going there. Because for us, the world is the global, it's a global village for us. There's no distinction between caste, creed, religion, nationality, even the gender, and all those inequalities, they vanish under the influence of the universal ideas of the Ramakrishna mission or the Ramakrishna movement. Now, if you ask what is the future in the 19th century, what is the future of the Ramakrishna mission or Vedanta movement in the West? In the 19th century, if you see, the main focus of religion was on reason. Everybody wanted a rational religion. They did not want a dogmatic religion. So science gained the upper ground. They said, if it is scientific, we'll accept it. So religion had to pass that test. So if somebody thinks now, how can religion, is it enough to be rational in this age, in this particular century? No, it would be the reason itself is not enough to prove the benefits, prove the beneficial nature of religion. Mysticism is a central core of every religion. So mystics commune with God, mystics of any order, whether they are Hindus, they are Christians or Muslims, any mystic who really loves God, they commune with their own God, own concept of God through love and contemplation. As Sri Ramakrishna said uh, about mystics, that all jackals in the world howl in the same way. So all mystics, irrespective of the religion they belong to, if you love God, you are all speaking the same language. One is speaking the same language. In other words, mystics of different religions may speak different languages, but the experience of oneness with God is the same. So in Lahore, in Pakistan, the present day Pakistan, in 1897, Swami Vivekananda delivered a lecture. In those days, Pakistan was part of India. It was all one subcontinent. He said something very significant. This is the core ideal of the Ramakrishna mission. He said, I have the power to bring 1/3 of the population of the world under the banner of Sri Ramakrishna, but I have no intention of doing so. I don't want to be sectarian. That would counteract my gurus, that is Sri Ramakrishna's great message of harmony. As many faiths, so many paths. And then you will start a new sect. So he was very particular that the Ramakrishna mission should not be another sect. It should help a Christian to become a better Christian, a Muslim to become a better Muslim, a human being to become a better human being, irrespective of his caste, creed, and religion. So these were the universal ideas. To protect that, he said, I don't want to convert this Ramakrishna movement into a sectarian movement. So nowadays, you see people in the West avoid organizations or avoid religion because they think they are corrupted by politics. A lot of corruption and politics you find in very, very big religious organization. It is confined to certain dogmas. They are very fanatical. So that's why people have lost faith. Sane people, good people, they have lost faith in this organized religion because there is so much of fanaticism, so much of politics. That is why Swami Vivekananda said, we shall have nothing to do with politics, nothing to do with dogmatism. It should be universal. That's why they say we have had the cry of the West, the modern West, the Western. If you ask what is the contribution of the Ramakrishna movement to the Western civilization, people everywhere, in every country, those who want to know about religion, they said, we have had enough of talk, enough of theoretical knowledge of religion. What we now want is a experience that will make us better human beings, a experience that will solve our problems, an experience, some mystical experience which will help us to become better human beings and live a life of peace and contentment in this world. We live in an age now where creeds and dogmatic ideas are being shaken. Dogmas are being questioned by people, by the scientific, the liberal people. Traditions, old traditions, very dogmatic traditions are all dissolving. Everybody seems to be, there are more atheists in America than followers of any religion. That is what the census says. So some Western thinkers have predicted that doctrine, dogma, ritual will not be able to sustain religion in the 21st century, something or the other centuries to come. You have to change. You have to change the very concept of religion, emphasize on the core of religion. So Upanishads, Ramakrishna's movement or the Ramakrishna mission's religion based on Upanishads is universal. It is free from doctrine, dogma, or creed. And I'm sure it will attract the world's liberal and intellectual individuals who want a better life wherever they are. So what kind of changes in approach to religion should we expect in this new millennium? Sri Ramakrishna teaches the same eternal truth which never changes. 2000 years ago, if you see, Jesus Christ said, "Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God." Can this gospel be changed? It is an eternal truth. If one is pure, one can see God. What Jesus said thousands of years ago, hundreds of years ago, stands true even today. Only the people who are pure in heart can see God. These values can't change. The 10 commandments of Moses, the 4 noble truths of Buddha, all these things will not change. So a famous Western philosopher, A.N. Whitehead, wrote once, "Religion will not regain its old power until it can face change." Changes are taking place in the world, maybe for the good or maybe for the worse. We do not know. But he says, religion will not regain its old power unless it can face change in the same spirit as does science. Science is ready to change. If things change, science changes to adapt to the new circumstances. We had a pandemic, science helped to develop vaccines and change how the disease can be fought. So religion also should be ready to change, to take up the old core values, keeping the core values intact. It should be changed. So that is, the principles may be eternal, but the expression of these principles, the outer crust of religion, requires continual development. That is what the Ramakrishna movement does. So I will conclude by a quote from Swami Vivekananda, which Sister Nivedita actually recorded this. Swami Vivekananda, in fact, Swami Vivekananda said, "Religion is growth. Religion is the realization of the spirit as spirit, not spirit as matter." So he introduced this practical Vedanta by saying, serve human beings as God. Actually, there is no difference between I am Brahman and thou art that. It is the same. Now, according to the need of the age, Swamiji taught us, or the Ramakrishna mission or Ramakrishna movement teaches us, to be moral, ethical, spiritual, practical, and follow the universal aspects of religion, of Vedanta. The divinity of the soul, the unity of all existence, the oneness of God, and the harmony of religions. So there's so much of bloodshed and hatred in the name of religion. So Swamiji said the monistic idea that will come out of Vedanta, and this is the only idea that should live, for this is the truth eternal, the basis of all religions. And truth teaches itself that it is not the special property of any individual or nation. Now he says, on 8th April, I'll conclude with this, on 8th April 1900 in San Francisco, Swami Vivekananda spoke on a very important theme. Is Vedanta the future religion, the universal Vedanta? In this, Swami Vivekananda said, there are 3 things necessary. One is a religion, a book, a scripture, a prophet who teaches you the meaning of the scripture, and a personal God. First of all, Vedanta does not believe that any one book can contain all the truths about God, the soul, and the ultimate reality. Every religion, every book teaches different aspects. So, but one thing we have to do, there are certain common things which we'll find in all the scriptures. And Vedanta says, the universal ideas of Vedanta says, the eternal truths of any part of the world, any religion of the world, forms the core principle of spirituality or religion as it should be practiced. So now we will come to the last quote. Sister Nivedita, Vivekananda's Irish disciple, once wrote to Miss Josephine MacLeod on 11th April 1906. This was after Swami Vivekananda passed away. She wrote about the future of the Ramakrishna movement, because once Swami Vivekananda passed away, they were wondering what will happen to this movement which he had started. They wanted some kind of continuation, which of course happened, but still they were worried. He passed away at such a young age. Then she wrote a very significant, Sister Nivedita wrote something very, very significant. He says, you see, when we who understood Swamiji, we means all the Western disciples and also the Eastern disciples who came to Swamiji, understood his universal message. She says, You see, when we who understood, we means Nivedita and others, who understood Swamiji and remember him, are all dead. When we pass away, there might come a long period of obscurity and silence, because people who have seen Swami Vivekananda are no more. People who had seen Sri Ramakrishna are no more. Will the movement then die? And she says there will come a period of obscurity and silence for the work that he did, that he initiated. It will seem to be forgotten until suddenly in 150 or 200 years, it will be found to have transformed the West. Now, this is Nivedita's observation. She says, we don't know how, but the ideas that he gave will slowly transform the West. So she firmly believed that these ideals, this confluence of the East and West are very important, and that is how we can contribute, by taking the best elements of the East and the West, as Swami Vivekananda did, inspired by his Guru Sri Ramakrishna. So Swami Vivekananda started the Ramakrishna Vedanta movement in the West, and it is almost 125 years since he founded the Ramakrishna mission and finally left this world on 4th July 1902. But his immortal spiritual teachings are flowing in the veins of humanity even today through this great movement, wherever it is. In our own humble way, all our centers all over the West, though we have to struggle a lot, because it takes time for the movement to be accepted, because the ideas are really important for the survival. These universal ideas, these liberal ideas, these ideas of love, brotherhood, and peace, these are really important if the world has to survive fanaticism, bigotry, violence that we are seeing now. So these teachings will slowly spread through the efforts of centers all over the world, like the one in Ireland. It's very recent, but I'm sure all the people of all different faiths will come together and carry the movement forward. 1 year before his Mahasamadhi, Swami Vivekananda has promised us, I have given them means the whole world, enough for the next 1500 years. So we don't have to worry. Swamiji's message, the great prophet that he was, who founded the Ramakrishna mission, has promised us that we have enough to work on for the next 1500 years. How we do it, who will contribute, who are lucky enough to be part of this great universal movement, which for the well-being of humanity, for bringing peace, for bringing a more inclusive world order, we have to choose. And those who are chosen by the Lord, those who are chosen to do this great work, we should consider ourselves lucky to be part of this Ramakrishna mission, which has been in existence for 125 years, doing its bit all over the world, especially in the West, to share the universal ideas. So I take your leave. I hope I have not taken much of your time. I am once again grateful to the Ireland Center, which is young, but it's full of promise, because this is the center which is the birthplace of Sister Nivedita, who dedicated her whole life, though she lived in England and she was inspired by Swami Vivekananda in the United Kingdom when he came to London. She still has Irish roots, and she was the one who understood the significance of the Ramakrishna movement, started by her own guru, Swami Vivekananda, and his guru, Sri Ramakrishna, based on universal ideas and how they will unfold themselves in the different parts of the world. So I'm very happy and thankful to Swami Shanti Vratananda for giving me this opportunity to share a few thoughts with all of you. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
Thank you so much, Swamiji, for your deep insights and for taking us through the selfless contributions of Ramakrishna Mission for the welfare of the society and for the world. Thank you so much for the time, Swamiji. Pranam. Thank you so much.
So I'll take your leave because I've got a program. We have our own webinar which will start in a few hours. So I have to prepare. So I kindly take your leave if you permit me.
Thank you so much, Swamiji. Moving on. For Ayurveda Society, he's been the architectural brain. It's now time to call upon Brian. Calling upon Brian to kindly render a song for all of us.
Ahailse Swami Shanti Ratananda, Ahailse Swami Purnananda, Ahailse Swami Sarvastananda, Arniana Omrafticha, Triharika agus Triforcha, Common Vedanta and Heron. Is more an unordum, Oran Horror Lahar and Yov Ekan Okaids Rahulcha. Reverend Swamis, our eminent guests, brothers and sisters of the Era Vedanta Society, Ramakrishna Vedanta Center. The Ramakrishna movement is built and based on a three-part foundation, that being of Sri Ramakrishna himself, Holy Mother Sharda Devi, and Swami Vivekananda. And to honor that trio, I would like to offer 3 hymns in our native language, honoring the Father, the Mother, and the Son. Tanam Godaguryo Agnyandar Dahal Talo Marianda now Orlan Legu Dominio Agus Madoin Arviocha Maravalina Darveguna Fame as knowledge Nilgau Accessing Don Din Don Din Es Banehu Ederbna Ses Banehu Taradabrana Isa Isa Anewada Avalvikte Gui Arnish Agus Gachala Dasel Jedavauda Talandras Tantina Esbanehu Ejebna Esbanehu Tarabina Isa 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 Anewuda Avalvikte Qui Arnish is Gachla Darsel Krias Lam Krias Rom Krias Damhi Christos Mahan Christ 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 Dharmalaya Christ Dharmalaya Christ Christum Holatam, Christum Hoshatam, Christ Mavring glory. Christ Dharmalaya, yes, Christ Dharmalaya, flay. Christum Christe. Good morning.
Thank you so much, Ryan. It was really moving. Thank you so much. Now, I call upon Mr. Kieran Dennison, the Fingal Councillor, to kindly address the gathering. Mr. Kieran Dennison was first elected in 2009, representing the Muladhat ward, an area where his party, Fine Gael, had been unsuccessful since 1985, and he did it in style, taking the second of 5 seats on his first attempt. He was re-elected in 2014, contested in 2019 elections, and now represents the Ongar area. He was elected as the mayor of Fingal in June 2013. A warm welcome to Mr. Kieran Dennison. I request Swami Vivekananda.
I really feel privileged to have been invited. Oh, sorry, of course. There are other people. I want to thank you for inviting me on this very special occasion, because 125 years is a very special occasion. And I suspect one of the reasons I've been invited here is because of the efforts I've been involved with Rama and the Apurva temple group to locate a site for a Hindu temple in Dublin 15. And one of the things I realized when I was first running for election in 2009 was the diversity of the population in this Dublin West constituency, where in some areas we have over 40% of the population having been born overseas, not to mention the number of children who have been born in Ireland since. And one of the requests in those early years was for a place to play cricket. Well, we have been successful in that regard, because we now have a cricket crease in Porterstown and now in Turristown Park, which I had the privilege of opening when I was mayor in 2014. And shortly around the same time, especially when I was mayor, I had a number of groups approaching me to see if they could find sites for churches and places of worship. And anyone who travels around Ireland, my own village in North Donegal in Carrigart had 3 churches, all of course from the same faith, all Christian, but they were Church of Ireland, Catholic and Presbyterian. And the sites for those churches were obviously given by landowners way back in the late 1800s. And that was a tradition in Ireland where the government didn't provide sites or churches, nor did the local authorities, the county councils. It was landowners who gave these sites. And same in Dublin. A lot of the new suburbs have, as they were being built, these sites were provided for the churches. But that presents a problem when you have so many other faiths now. People come here from other countries to come here to work, to live. The children go to school. The state can provide all these facilities for schools, but they don't provide facilities for places of worship. And that presents a challenge. And that is what I've been working on for the last number of years in the council. We can make special zonings for community infrastructure, and we can build them or provide sites on those zonings. So that is something we're working on now because we're involved in our development plan. And we've been successful to some extent. We have a large Romanian Pentecostal church or place of worship in Turlestown now with a 1,200-seater auditorium. And I hope that in the next few years, we will have similar facilities for other groups, including the Hindu community. So that's something I'm quite optimistic on. So I just want to say thank you once again. And I just want to say, as a politician, because I know this is not a political thing, but I would encourage communities to make it known that, you know, Ireland is to some extent different from India in scale, and that local politicians, TDs, even ministers are very accessible to ordinary citizens. Many of them hold clinics, they have constituency offices, and when you have problems, you shouldn't hesitate to contact your local TD or minister from whatever party or whatever organization, because they can help. And sometimes people are reluctant to do that because that is not the tradition in their own country. It is the tradition here to some extent. And my own name would be well known in the Irish Embassy in Delhi because of my Indian friends who have often contacted me to intercede for friends and colleagues who need to get visas and that sort of thing. But there are many other things that people can get help with as well. And not just to help yourselves, but to help your community and things that you think that are needed in the community that we may not see as people who have grown up and been active in the community. We may not realize the needs that are there or the things that could be provided. For example, I know that when I think of places of worship, and I think of places also where people can keep their cultural identity and pass that on to their children, because obviously that's important for the connection back home with relatives and family, and language and things like that. And that our traditional education system doesn't provide that, but we need spaces for that. And when I think of places of worship, I think of that sort of integrated facilities, such as the Romanian one in Turlestown, where they can have classrooms and facilities that people can interact with each other. And of course, that's also very important as a sort of a focus for a community. And I say all that because I know that you know, there will always be differences, and much as we might want a universal faith and universal religion, and I fully subscribe to that myself. You know, what's the saying? It's with all faiths and all the religions, it's the one Rama with 1,000 names, and but there will always be divergences, and we have to facilitate that. So thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, once again, for your warmth and for giving us the assurance that you are there for us anytime and for us to approach you anytime, whenever there's a need. Thank you so much for your presence, and thank you for your presence. Thank you so much. Now, moving on to the next program, I'd like to call upon 3 devotees of Ayurveda Society, Sri Uday, then Dermot and Brian, to kindly share their experiences with the Ayurveda Society. First, Udayji.
Pranam Swami Shanti Vivekananda ji. My pranam to Swami Purnananda, and my pranam to all our guests and all our regular devotees and all the devotees who are linked to us virtually. I would like to start off by saying that this is a very big day for Ramakrishna Mission since it's completed 125 years. I would also like to mention about an icon of Ireland who won her boxing championship today. So that's a very big international occasion. And today is also International Labour Day. So that's also another very important occasion. My association with Ramakrishna Mission has been since I was 8 or 9 years old. And it started off in Calcutta. We were living in the railway colony there. And it was called BNR, Bengal Nagpur Railway. And we had our Sunday 1 hours of stories about Thakur Ma, Swamiji, stories about Mahabharata, Ramayana, and singing and chanting of shlokas. So it was all a fun time. And that time we used to then visit all the children and their parents. We used to all visit Belur Math for Durga Puja and Kali Puja, Kumari Puja, visit the Kali Ghat temple. So all these incidents, they had an influence on me. I didn't realize it at that age because all those prayers and all those singing and shlokas and all, they're merely words. They don't really mean much because you don't understand the deep meaning about it. But as time passed, I realized that there was this yearning, there was this longing, I felt something within. And it was the draw which the mission had for me, the attraction which the mission had for me. And what I realized was that in subsequent years, that everything in this life, in my life at least, was determined by what Thakur and Mother did. And I started, I anchored myself, in fact, to the mission. And what I started believing in myself and my experience with the mission was about devotion and patience, Shraddha and Saburi. And it was all about hard work, practice, abhyas, yoga. And I realized this is the most important thing in life, in my life, if I want to realize God or the higher truth or realize Ramakrishna. And the another thing which I started learning and which I experienced was it's all Mother's wish. And one of the teachings which I try to practice, it's not easy, it's very difficult, and one deviates from one's path, but what I try to practice is work hard, acquire knowledge, but offer everything to Mother. Because ultimately, when you look deep down inside, you realize that that's the only truth. It could be anybody. It could be Jesus, it could be Muhammad, it could be Ramakrishna, it could be Holy Mother, it could be Kali. But that's what the truth is, deep down. So work hard to me, but hold on to Mother. And offer everything what you have to her. Do your work sincerely, but offer everything to her. Because believe me, it's my experience, and I've experienced it several times. I've been here in Ireland for the last 11 years with Meera, my wife, and my daughter. And the chain of events which have taken place proves to me time and again that when you offer everything to Mother, she takes care of things. There are challenges in life. Everybody goes through challenges. I go through my own challenges today, but because I have this deep faith within me, I have experienced that the effect of these challenges are reduced. And you're able to manage and handle them much better than you would normally do. So That's been my experience. And in a lighter vein, in Hindi, some of you may be knowing, we say lage raho. And that's what it really means. I mean, and that's what this symbol stands for, do it. So practice, practice, and practice. I'm sure we'll succeed. Thank you very much for your time.
Pranams, Swamiji's. Greetings, everybody. I'm Dermot. I'm not really prepared for this, but I would see myself as just an ordinary Irish old fella at this stage. But so why am I here? Well, I could turn around and do this. And you'd say, what's that? And I'd say, that's the way Swamiji twisted my arm to get me up here. So I did actually do my homework and write stuff, you know. So just so as you have the evidence, you can see the evidence, right? I'm not spoofing. I have been known to do that, of course. But so what he, thank you. So what he specifically said to me was, say, so as I remember it, I could misremember, of course, but like, why do I come here? And what's the benefit? So I'll be very short since I know you've been listening a lot. Why do I come here? I come here, manana, to listen. So therefore, in simple logic, I shouldn't be speaking. But why do I say that? I can say that because I can look at the qualifications, the 4 qualifications, and as you know, they are discernment, dispassion, discipline, and desire for freedom. So when I look at myself vis-a-vis those, I can't say I'm a grade A student, but our prospect. So therefore, I shouldn't be speaking. But so that's the first point. That's why I come to listen. And listening is a very important thing. Being an old fella, you look back, and what I sometimes say, it's like with kids. What comes first is usually very powerful. And very often you come back on what came first. And I think if you think of Hindu cosmology as I understand it, that's in it. So sometimes I visualize that as the snake swallowing its own tail, which I think is an old image. So first point, listen. Then what's the benefit? What's the benefit of coming here? And this, I'll say to you, because since I shouldn't really be speaking, I'm trying to say something that may be to your benefit. And that's there's 2 competent teachers here. So I am not lucky. I can't believe my luck. When I first went to India and start reading Indian things, like, you know, it was like really before the internet, before. So like when I look back, you know, then I'm thinking like the old way things were, books, how hard it was even to get. You know, what does this Sanskrit word mean? How difficult that was. And and for me still is. But what I can say to you is it's an incredible benefit to have a competent teacher. Like, if you think of a teacher and qualifications, you could think of a physics teacher or a German teacher. And like, what does it boil down to? And you say, well, they should be able to talk the talk. Okay, maybe a physics teacher has to, invigilate in a lab or whatever. I don't know. I know nothing about physics. But if you think then of a teacher of Vedanta, like, what's a competent teacher there? Not only do they have to talk the talk, but they've got to walk the walk. And then lastly, not only do they have to be able to walk the talk, they've also got to be able to help others to walk the talk. Now, that's difficult. That takes something. So that's what I leave you with. And if you want to think about that further, you can think about the mystery of influence. In one of the pieces I was doing for me homework, but it got a little silly. You can remember Reinhold Niebuhr's Serenity Prayer. It said, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And, that sort of goes to Shanti. But if you think of that quote, it doesn't really deal with the actual mystery of influence. Because why? Because it's stuck within the ambit of knowledge. Of course, it's very beneficial and it is a great thing. And I think actually in Alcoholics Anonymous, they may use it. And that shows you it has power. But when you think about it, like, the real mystery of influence is surely when one in life goes into something and you don't really know where you're going. So why do you still go there? If you think about all the influences in your life, say like the former speaker, and like, why do you latch on to the influences that you like? Because so many things can influence you, especially nowadays with the internet and all the rest of it, and technology and all the saturation, maybe super saturation with so-called communication. So why does something resonate with you, especially when you have no rational proof beforehand that this is going to do something for you? So in a way, you can think of Strada, if I'm saying it properly, which I'm not, I can see, but faith, so you can think of that as the willing suspension of disbelief. But what instinct allows one to go into something, and something very profound that you don't know, and yet you're prepared to walk that direction? And that's what I leave you with, which now, of course, like the old snake, I'm coming back on myself, and I'm saying, you have two competent teachers. So think about that when you think about the mystery of influence. Thank you.
I'm not going to sing again. I'll spare you all that. I'll spare myself too. Sing that speech. You can sing the speech. I first encountered Sri Ramakrishna, Swami Vivekananda, and Holy Mother on Vivekananda Rock, right at the very, very tip of southern India, off the town of Kanyakumari. There's a rock there. And Swami Vivekananda swam out to this rock, and it was on that rock in meditation that he gained the vision to go to America when he went then afterwards to the Parliament of Religions. And this was the beginning of where we are here today, sitting in the west of Dublin. And I knew nothing of Swami Vivekananda, I knew nothing of Sri Ramakrishna, I knew nothing of Sharada Devi, I knew nothing of many things. I had gone to India to try and sort out a couple of deep-rooted personal issues, so I locked myself in an ashram for 1.5 years to try and do that. And I remember walking into the hall, and there's a huge statue of Swami Vivekananda, very, and I remember looking up, and in my very kind of Irish, kind of maybe insecure way, thinking, oh, he looks a bit sure of himself. That mustn't be very spiritual, I'm thinking, yeah, no, there's nothing there, okay. And I went to the back of the room and honestly felt very underwhelmed by, there was a statue behind glass of Sri Ramakrishna, again, had no effect on me. But when I stood in front of Holy Mother, my God, all of a sudden I felt completely unjudged, loved, and accepted as I was. And I had never experienced that in my whole life, never. And that moved something inside of me. And that remained with me right through my whole stay in India. But at another stage later on, somebody else came to visit where I was and went to Kanyakumari and brought back a little plastic plaque with the image of Sri Ramakrishna sitting in meditation, and the words written underneath, as one thinks, so does one become. And gradually over time, the words have slightly faded away, but I've kept that with me. And after I came home from India, I had realized that the times in my life when I've gone off the rails or I've gone out of sync and things have become very unbalanced were times when I didn't have a spiritual teacher or a spiritual teaching or a spiritual place which would ground me and give me that grounding in life. So I was looking for something and I came across Arya Vedanta Society. And here we are today. At that time, it was in a small little place off at the back of Blessington Street in the city centre, with needles on the ground and all sorts of stuff, and Swami Purnananda going around administering to the people there. So what I've done really to sum up what this place means and represents for me, I've written a small poem. So I'll just read that and then I'll let you get on to your lunch. In Dublin West, a place there be, a place of peace and sanctity, which shrine to saints of world renown and holy monks whose prayers resound. In Dublin West, a place there be, a place of love, a sanctuary, where worldly woes do soon dissolve, and cups of tea rekindle resolve. In Dublin West, a place there be, a place of joy, truly welcoming, to one and all, despite their creed, and west and east in peace do meet. In Dublin West, a place there be, a place of truth and knowledge free, for all who do sincerely look, seeking inner truth not found in book. In Dublin West, a place there be, a place of solace and holy company, who basic truths do o'er and o'er decree for the welfare of all, to one day be free. In Dublin West, a place there be, a place of peace and sanctity. Good morning.
Thank you once again, Udayji, Dermot, and Brian for sharing your experiences. And that was a wonderful poem, Brian. Thank you so much. Mother's love is omnipresent. And we sure have experienced, all of us have experienced that. And I would request the Swamiji to have more sessions where the devotees share the experiences. So it's more reassuring and welcoming. Thank you so much for all of them. And moving on. Now, we cordially request Michael O'Sullivan, who's working for the Colombian missionaries and is a member of TCIF in the area of justice, care of Mother Earth, and interreligious dialogue, to kindly address the gathering. We also cordially invite and welcome Father Posh of the Colombian missionaries. I would like Swami Shantivivekananda to kindly do the honors for both of them.
Thanks so much. And again, very honored to be here. Just to say a little bit about myself. Oh, I'm okay. I'm leaving. So as was said, I work with a group called the Colombian Missionaries, and Father Pash is a former head of the order. And we work in the areas of care for the earth, justice, and interfaith dialogue. And as part of that, I'm a member of the Dublin City Interfaith Forum. Some of you might know that it brings together 7 major faiths, obviously Hindu, Christian, Muslim, Sikh, Baha'i, Jewish, and Buddhist. And I find it a really wonderful thing to be part of. And when I joined it nearly 10 years ago, I knew a bit about Christianity, maybe. I knew a bit about Judaism, Muslim a little bit. I didn't know much about Hinduism, other than culturally. It was very rich culture. I was aware of the dance, and I was aware, but I didn't really know. It was something I had no way of finding my way through. So my first experience really of this community was the representative on the forum, who is Swami Purnananda. And what I met in Swami Purnananda was a man of great wisdom, great humor, a practical man, and a very welcoming man. And so that was my first experience of the community. And then part of what we do in the forum is we have a program called Faith in the City, where we invite people into our places of worship or temples or whatever. And I think several people have mentioned the small ashram that was on Blessington Street, just underneath the arch there. And we were invited one night to go there. I met some of you there, actually. I remember this maybe 6 or 7, maybe even more years ago. And all the things I experienced with Swami, I met in the center. I met that warmth, and I met that gentleness, and also we had a talk from Swami. So what I left with was like a roadmap. You know, you go to a hotel and you're a big city, you don't know where to go or whatever, and they hand you a map. I mightn't tell you everything, but it gives you some sense where things are. And what I got from that night, I got that map of what the Ramakrishna community are about and what the wider Hindu tradition is about. And particularly some of the things that have been talked here today, the notion that God is in everybody and is in creation. The notion that there's a challenge for ancient traditions to try and engage with the modern world in ways that respect both, because you know, it's not about handing everything over to the modern world, but equally it's about trying to engage with that. And so I learned that, and I learned again about a thing I've experienced here tonight, and it sort of touches me, is the gentleness of people, the testimonies that were given by the devotees. What strikes me is just the modesty of people and the gentleness and non-judgmental, and so that's what I've experienced in my my dealings with the Ramakrishna community, and it's something that you know, the last couple of years we haven't been able to meet. It's been difficult. Before the I call it BC, before COVID, before COVID, something really nice had started, which was, well, for me it was very nice. It was that the Interfaith Forum met a few times down in Dalton Park. Dalton Park is the home of the Colombian missionaries, and it's set in a big estate of woodland, about 70 acres of woodland and about 500 acres altogether. And when we were down there one day, Swami said, you know, would it be possible to have retreats here? And I said, you know, because the Colombians are very open to, for the past worked in Pakistan for many years, very open to welcoming people. And so that happened, and maybe 2, 3, 4 times, it happened. And again, I was very happy that that could happen, and people seemed to, you know, from the community seemed to enjoy it. But even more so, what pleased me was the community in Dalgan, the community of retired priests, but also the staff in Dalgan would come to me and say, we had your friends down, you know, men in the orange, we had them down. And how much they enjoyed meeting people and talking to people. And they saw the same things in the community that I saw. So it's a great privilege for me just personally to be here. I would also say on behalf of the Dublin City Interfaith Forum, the participation of this community in that forum has been hugely important. Swami and yourselves have been very, very supportive. When I learned a bit more about your philosophy, I understood why that was the case, because it was not just saying, you know, this is something we should do, but it's very much part of what is core to what you believe. And that certainly comes through. So I really appreciated my connection to this community. I hope something that we can continue to build up. When I should also say something that struck me this morning. It's several times people said that, you know, the order in the West focuses on spiritual and, you know, and other places humanitarian. I was here 4 years ago when they had the first anniversary of the opening of the center here. And there were loads of people from the rest of the community here who were coming here to say thank you. I think Swami Vivekananda said when they came first, you know, people were a bit suspicious, didn't know what was going on. But after a year, people were saying, thank you for your hospitality, for giving space to places. So obviously there's different emphasis in different parts of the world, but your commitment to being part of communities and to try to serve communities is admirable. So again, I want to thank you. Thank you for your hospitality again today. And this is 125 years. So the next 125, wish you all the best. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Michael, for your kind words and for extending your support to the Indian diaspora here. Thank you so much once again for your presence. Last but not the least, we've come to the end of the program. One of Vedanta's techie who manages computer connections and computers and bug. So silent warrior, he whose name is Deepak.
So I'm in a tight spot because I'm in between the children who are hungry and the food that needs to be served here. And if I take too long, I think, okay, I'll try to keep it really, really short because I don't want riots here. So let's be fast and short. So first of all, thanks to the divine grace and divine help, because this kind of celebration cannot happen without a lot of divine grace, particularly with all the internet issues. So we really need all the divine grace that we can get so that the function runs smoothly, at least as smoothly as it ran today. So thanks to the divine, and thanks to all the participants, not only physically here, but a lot of participants on Zoom. So there was one time I saw 45 participants on the Zoom. So thank you to all of you on Zoom and those who are here. So thanks to the divine in all these forms. So, oh, yes, of course. And particularly thanks to all the guests here, Mr. Kieran Dennison, if I'm pronouncing your name right. Yes. So, and for your generous offer that we can always approach you whenever there is a difficulty in the community, in the larger community. So thank you very much. Yes, you will soon get a list.
Well, I said not just me, but anytime.
We can take that into account.
I don't want to be here to get
And also, thank you to Mr. Michael O'Sullivan. Thanks for your wonderful talk. Then I should also thank Sangamitra. Oh, where is she? Oh, yes. And so for a very wonderful start, because the way she set up the tone with her singing, it created the whole atmosphere for the rest of the day, I think. And thanks to Paul for his nice talk and the introduction. Of course, I should also thank Swami Vivekananda because it was his inspiration to organize this event, and we are always blessed to listen to you, all your talks in the last many months, and also for all the effort that you put into organizing these things, because we understand that this is all for our benefit, that you're organizing these things. So we are very grateful for that. And then thanks to Swami Sarvastananda ji, Minister in charge in UK, who kindly took out the time and talked to us today. And I remember the few things that, so I remember that how Swami Shantivitananda mentioned the life of sannyasis and how hard it is to start something like this. And also just the life itself is so hard because of all the, because you can't, even though you may be a graduate, but rather than earning for yourself, you are working selflessly for the rest of the society. So we are very grateful for that. Thanks also to Swami Purnananda ji, who has been the inspiration for this center globally and has been one of the founding fathers of this center. Then Mayuri Dance Club, Mayuri Dance School, sorry, wonderful dancing and great cultural performances. So I apologize for the poor internet at that time, but the dance was brilliant. So those on the Zoom, sorry you guys missed out, but next time better be physically here. So, if possible. I understand that many people are in UK and France, so I understand that it's not possible for everybody, but it's a good way to say that we should have more people here rather than on Zoom, because things like dance are very difficult to convey on Zoom. Thanks to Brian for the wonderful song, and then of course for sharing your very touching and moving experience with the Holy Mother in Kanyakumari. So all of these experiences I think are very heart moving. So I think we thank you for that. Thanks of course also to Dermot for pointing out and reminding us that we have two very competent teachers here and we should make good use of them. So thank you, Dermot. And thanks to Uday for also sharing his experiences today. Then, of course, I have a long list of people to thank for all the food today that will be served in a little while. So where do I even start? Okay, I start from Juma. So thank you. Vardhani, happy birthday and thank you. I'm in between her and the cake, and I don't want to take too long. So let me finish fast, and then we can do all the singing and all the other things later. Thanks to Maravika, Nayantara, Rai for coordinating all the food, Jyoti Bala, and Georgiana for the cake. Yes, I shouldn't forget that. Of course, I am coming to that. I have it on my list. It's a long list. I'm going to. I cannot forget Sharanya because she is the great hostess for today and all the master of ceremony. If I forget her, I will get kicked out. So thank you very much. And I think I may have forgotten a lot of people because this kind of events do not just happen. It requires a huge amount of effort. And there's a lot of background work that happens. Or for example, all the flower garlands that you see on the shrine room, all the flowers, the way they have been meticulously arranged, somebody must have put the effort in that. I don't know who did that, but anyway, thank you to all of the people who have been involved in this celebration. Even if I forgot your name, I apologize. So just one last one. Thank you all for all blessing us with your presence here.
Father, this is a token of gratitude from our side. Thank you. It must be short.
Yes, please. Thank you very much. I never got to India because I lived in Pakistan. They told me in Pakistan that if you go to India, you don't come back. Because they would treat me as, they would see me as a Jesus. It was Michael who brought me here today, so I'm very happy. Thank you for having me.
Last but not the least, just like a icing on a cake, I would like to call Swami Vivekananda ji to kindly render a few words.
My special thanks to all the devotees and volunteers who helped me or who supported our Vedanta Society to make this function so wonderful, and also invoking the divine blessings on all of us. Thank you for Mr. and Mrs. Sain to come for this wonderful program, and probably these are the, events like, or Michael was saying that BC. No, this is AC after COVID now. Hope we don't expect the fourth wave strongly in Ireland. But these are the events where we can connect each of us and we can share our love, we can share our experience, we can share our emotions. Because today in the society, we have got psychosomatic problems a lot, physically and psychologically. So when we have such type of functions, we meet each other, we talk each other, we share our emotions, our food, of course, which is very important for us. So we share each other so that we'll have a very good life. We'll have a very good mind, peaceful mind also. So probably we are having a June 19th, our 4th or 5th anniversary of Vedanta Society. I explore this opportunity to welcome you all, who are in physically here and also who are in the Zoom too. Again, it will be on Sunday only. So I request all of you to join there. And also I request all of them to come often physically, not of course, we have got a hybrid now, offline and online, both we are doing the programs. But I request all of you to come more and more physically so that you'll be able to get more and more inspiration, draw inspiration, and let the Holy Trio bless all of us with a good health and peace of mind and prosperity. Thank you. Jai Ramakrishna.
All the children?
Yes.
Wait.
Ardhini, come. Come this side. All the children can come. Swami, I now invite Ardhini, the birthday baby, to kindly join the group.
Yeah, wait.
Okay.
I want to cut the blueberry. Okay.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you.
With that high note, we come to the conclusion of today's event. Thank you all for logging in and thank you all for your time. Pranam and Namaste. Thank you.